So that was easy to obviously show because we have like props to show where we are. So it's probably not difficult for the audience to understand where we are at this point. Describe how your character feels within the scene. How do you show this in your movement? For example, how does this affect your facial expression and dynamics of the movement? My character feels at this point, well, during the table scene, I think my character feels like she's eager to know what they've decided to do to try and kind of break the solidarity of the women, and she's trying to keep it cool and to leak as much information as possible for her to talk to Rita about it. So she's really inquisitive as she questions both Tooley and Mr. Hopkins, and nothing's going to stop her, even if like Mr. Hopkins tells her to kind of, be quiet and bring in the next dinner. She's not going to go down without getting what she wants. And in this song, as I've said before, she's probably still one of the most determined people there for the right reasons, because obviously Tooley thinks he's won because he's decided to use one of the women working in the factory and put her in the car show, offering her quite a bit of money. So he thinks if he does that, then the woman will realise that they're not making a difference and they'll just go back to work. But obviously she doesn't see it that way. She's still she's always like ready to fight for what she believes in, and she really hopes that the women are there to do the same. And also when I'm talking to Rita, I'm still a little bit nervous as to what she might say or do. Like Lisa might be a bit worried that like Rita will think it's no use, we're going to go back to work. So obviously that affects my facial expression because I kind of raise my like the front of my eyebrows a little, kind of making the lines of my forehead visible, and my eyes are quite wide because as I've said before, I don't really know what to expect, because I want women equality as much as Rita, as much as any girl in the factory. So yeah, but she's both determined and inquisitive, and encouraging to Rita in this song.
Describe 3 points in your dance that you thought was good and why it was effective. Well, I think the last line of our, like the end of the song Storm Clouds, I think it was really good how we had the girls on the whole of the girls kind of on the right side, and Eddie standing kind of at the back facing the audience, and me and Joe to start with walk on at the front as if we're together, and then like 2 seconds before the end I decide to break away and go back to where they are and stand side to the audience and look at the girls, which I think was really good because it like finally shows that I'm not gonna be held down by him anymore. So, and I think it was good how we included Eddie, obviously, because he's a big part of why Rita's having doubts and like why she's so upset at the moment, and it kind of shows like what's about to happen with their relationship. So I think that was really creative. So she's kind of got the girls on one side and her husband on the other, and then it just shows that I've decided to like break away from Mr. Hopkins because I don't agree with what he does, and I want to also think for my another good point would be at the start where all the girls are carefully placed like dotted around the stage, and then the boys enter from the centre and kind of like break the solidarity there, even though they don't mean to, like that was Tool's intention, but they've decided to like hit the news to the girls that they can't work either, and obviously they're really angry about that, and they've tried to throughout the course of the play, you know, obviously people like Eddie, the guys have like tried to have understood why they've done it, but at this point they're really angry because it's affected their work, it's affected their lifestyle because they don't have any income anymore. So I think it's really good how we were kind of dotted around the stage, and obviously you can see every girl still with the signs, so they like it shows that they're still fighting for what they believe in, but with like a little bit of regret and like less enthusiasm than they had before with everybody out. So yeah, I think it was really good how all the men came from the centre to kind of break them up a bit, and obviously it just shows the ruptures and what it's doing to Dagenham as a whole. The last point as to why the dance is good is because I think it's been directed like carefully, and they've thought about everyone, and it's really effective, like even with the meal that Mr. Hopkins, Tooley and Lisa Hopkins have, like they're talking about the woman and they're kind of just there. So I think it's really clever how kind of everyone's always on stage for most of it, and even when there's been arguments, there's been decisions to try and crack the solidarity, they're all still there at this point, but they're kind of hanging on. And I like the fact that when Tooley and Mr. Hopkins mentions Sandra Beaumont, she's like still on stage, so she's still with them, but the audience know that she's soon not going to be there because she's not going to decline that offer and that kind of money. So I like the fact that we're all together on stage for most of it, and that the way that when the girls are in that kind of little bubble together in a formation and then they suddenly walk out of the formation, it shows that it's kind of they're kind of coming apart, and the way that they walk obviously shows an emotional obviously shows they're emotional and would like is unhappy compared to what like they were before when they started the strikes. They were really upbeat and enthusiastic, but now they're kind of like trailing their feet and like stuff, and they don't really think it's worth it anymore, and I think that shows through their movement around the stage. Target 3 areas of the dance that needs improving. Well, since it's not really a moving number, I still think all of us could improve our facial expression a bit more, especially at the start where they're still all in that formation and they look like really worried because no one knows how it's going to turn out, and people are obviously regretting what they're doing. And then obviously when the guys come in from the centre of the stage, then they feel like as if they're about to break. So it really shows that they're really like their heart, it kind of shows that their heart's not in it anymore, but it was before, and they really want it as much they really want it like kind of as much as Lisa wants, obviously, but probably obviously more because they're in that situation. They want it to do some good. They believed that it was only fair that they get equal pay. And it all kind of started from like an innocent kind of almost petition to making the men lose their income because they don't have enough car seats, so they can't really make the cars. And and it would be, they're showing it now, but it would be good if like they showed even more heartache and worry and regret. And so if the audience ever looked at one individual character, they'd be able to tell what they're thinking from their face. And it just goes with what like the lyrics are to the song Storm Clouds. I think me, Tooley and Hopkins, when bringing on the table, need to be maybe a little bit more quieter and a little bit more careful, because in the dress rehearsal obviously things were we used real wine glasses and things were smashing, so I think we need to take care of like what's on the table, and we need to assign people what they're doing, because we always seem to have one person short. So like in the end we only had 2 chairs, so Tooley had to stand up. So I think it's really important for us to like know who's taking on what, and then we're a bit more confident in ourselves, because I think we're all a bit worried at how it was going to turn out and like how we were going to get everything ready when the lights were up on us. And yeah, we need to do it in a calm manner because there's still like another scene going on, and everyone's still singing. So I think it's important for us to like feel confident in ourselves, because we know who's taken what on, and it will just look more professional when everything's on the table and we've actually got 3 chairs.
Area for improvement in Storm Clouds is probably the spacing at the end, when the girls are kind of in their little formation at kind of on the left hand side of the stage, and Eddie is at the back, kind of on the back row, but on the right side of the stage, and me and Joe are placed at the front of the stage, but then obviously I move to downstage right, and I think sometimes the spacing can get a little bit cramped, and I've noticed that sometimes I block Eddie, so I need to kind of have a bit more spatial awareness throughout the whole thing, because I don't want to block out anybody. For example, when I'm telling Rita that what Tooley is planning, I feel like sometimes I am blocking Eddie again, so I always need to be aware of my surroundings, not just to like stop myself from bumping into things, but to make sure that the relevant characters in this scene, in this song, are not being blocked